Welcome to Roaming, everybody, your video channel on dance culture. In recent discussions about dance contests, I was surprised to find out that more and more people use the term soul as an important element in their analysis to find out whether a performer should win a battle or not. So funny enough, by asking them for their definitions of the soul, or just simply what soul entails, I got highly confusing answers. As you might know, in my book, Think Breaking, I also wrote about the body, mind and soul as a holistic model of domains for judging and performance analysis. In my book, the chapter on soul has around 40 pages, and it is way deeper than I can get here in the video, of course. So sadly, I must say, I realized many people misuse the term soul. What happened? Like in so many cases, people hear something that sounds good, and then instead of informing themselves about the deeper meaning of what it might be or what it really is, they just assume what it means, and that sometimes leads to new realities. The same thing happened to the term soul. That's why I thought it is important to produce a video about it. Since breaking and most other dance forms we are dedicated to originate mainly from the African American linguistic and cultural context, it is very easy here to make the association to soul music that was developed during the 20th century, particularly through gospel and rhythm and blues. There were singers like Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye or Teddy Pendergrass, just to mention a few. And they combined gospel techniques like call and response and melismatic singing with secular themes. So the term soul music derives from the Christian church, as well as in soul music as in body, mind, soul trinity and its philosophy. From an analytical perspective, soul music does not refer to an isolated musical variable like tempo, pitch or rhythm. Instead, it functions as a descriptive term for a combination of observable performance features. These include microtiming, dynamic modulation, timbre control, phrasing that resembles spoken language rather than strict metric structure, and call and response patterns, which organize musical interaction dialogically. Together, these elements create what listeners then perceive as expressivity, very important word here, which was culturally labeled then as soul. Okay? In African American church traditions, especially gospel, it was used to describe a form of expression that is perceived as deeply felt, authentic, and emotionally embodied. It often comes across as something very spiritual and unexplainable, as something one has to believe in, or otherwise you won't be able to see it. And that, my friends, led to the false inference that soul could be something you either have or you have not. And that is super problematic for judging, because in that case, only true believers should be candidates for a judges panel, and their opinions cannot be doubted or must not ever be explained. And that doesn't get us anywhere, does it? To get more clarity on the subject, I would like to make an attempt to explain the soul phenomena with the help of the words of jazz musician Herbie Hancock and philosopher Immanuel Kant. So actually, originally, the word soul simply means the inner essence or spirit. In German, the soul is die Seele, which predates the English word etymologically. Let's start with how we experience, because that's what it is all about when we talk about judging, right? So now, please bear with me, because I have to tackle this from different angles. Bear with me. Immanuel Kant distinguishes between phenomena, which are basically the objects of our experience, so the things as they appear to us, and noumena, which are things as they are in themselves, independent of our experience. We can only know phenomena, because our knowledge is shaped by our sensory experience and mental faculties. Okay, now it gets interesting because some of our knowledge is a priori, meaning it is not derived from experience but rather precedes it and then shapes how we experience the world. For example, our understanding of space and time is a priori. That means we don't learn about space and time through experience, but rather use them as frameworks to structure our experiences. Okay, and here comes Herbie Hancock in, who uses the word transcendental in context with a priori conditions that make experience and knowledge possible. Transcendental knowledge, therefore, is not about objects themselves, noumena, but about the structure of our experience of those objects, phenomena. This concerns the basic categories, shapes and forms that our minds use to process sensory data and that constructs our experience of reality. So in other words, the substance we see in dance performances does not derive from experience, but it is instead preconditions that our mind imposes on experience. Okay? The concept of substance or also causality is transcendental because they both help us to experience our world in an organized way. So when people speak of soul, they should mainly mean the transcendental experience, which refers to the conditions that underlie and make any experience or knowledge possible. This is what I also called expressivity earlier when I spoke about soul music. So these conditions are absolutely not derived from the external world, but from our minds, from our own minds. They are the necessary frameworks like space, time and causality that we use to make sense of the world around us. Understanding these transcendental conditions allows us to understand how we can have knowledge of the world at all, even though we can never know things as they are in themselves. Noumena. Okay, this shows again that it is not about the moves themselves, noumena, but about how and when they are done, because that creates the phenomena. They are performative aspects. So the importance of the composition of a performance and its tension arc with the rhythm that's used as the time grid is of major importance here. In dance we see movement within musical rules. The rhythms and loops create predictability and we start to anticipate. Expectation is growing. When the performer does something that our minds cohere with, then we develop empathy. We get drawn into the performance. But if the performer transcends the presentation into something bigger, worthier, more amazing than we ever anticipated, then the emotional impact is way stronger than we thought. Sometimes it even creates certain bodily reactions like screaming, laughter, crying, or sometimes people even faint. We've seen that in church, right? And in concerts. And because it's transcending into unexpected deep emotional territories, we connect that with our soul. Most of the time we describe that effect with words like expressivity or performativity. And when people have the ability to do that punctually, we mostly call that a blow-up. But sometimes we also have that during an entire performance. And that can surely be described as soulful then. Peace, y'all, and see you soon.